Hey there folks, another Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report here for you, and this one's a special one for me. It was kind of the swan song of the gaming group I have here in Vienna, Austria. We decided to have one more throwout on Father's Day weekend, so I was able to secure permission from my lovely wife to have 3 other buddies over for a giant 10,000 point last throwdown, and it's going to be the High Elves and Vampire Counts versus Warriors of Chaos and Beastmen. And so let's go ahead here and look at the scenario rules. Okay, let's go over the scenario rules then. So we had, because of the size, the 10,000 points and how much room they were going to take up, we decided to do a 4x8 foot board, borrowed to my friend's Realm of Battle tiles. And the first thing we did was I wanted something fluffy to decide who was going to be the marshal of both alliances. So we ended up having a duel. I'll talk more about that at the end, but it ended up being the Beastman, Great Bray Shaman versus Manfred von Karstein, and that meant they got plus 6 inch Inspiring Presence, plus 1 combat resolution to friendly combat within 18 inches. Any unit within 18 inches can reroll rally tests, not break tests, and plus 100 victory points if you kill it, in addition to killing the general's bonus. For deployment and scenario, we ended up doing communications breakdown listed inside the General's Compendium. I always encourage people to take a look at that book. You can read my review on it. I did a while back. Outstanding scenario. What it basically simulates is the alliances show up at a battlefield that wasn't really planned on, and they didn't have a chance to talk. So you cannot, the members of each alliance cannot talk strategy during the game. If they want to do it, they have 2 times within the engagement where they can take 2 minutes and go privately talk. The other team has an option once to claim spies and then to go listen in, otherwise they get a private conversation. If you happen to try to cheat, there's something negative that happens, but we're all friendly players here and that didn't come up. Magic, 2d6 plus channels. We didn't want this to be dramatically overpowered magic game, so it's actually ended up working out pretty well because I, as the Warriors and surprisingly the High Elves, didn't have a whole lot of magic. And then winning conditions were just straight victory points plus secret objectives. I had 2 secret objectives that you had to control at the end of the game. They were randomly drawn out of a hat. One, you had to control it, then cast a big magic spell to claim it for 500 victory points. The other one, you had to hold a tower. And each of the 4 players randomly drew one, so it wasn't by alliance. So just to add a little bit of flair to the game. And now let's go on to the armies. Okay, so we'll start with my army first, Warriors of Chaos. I wanted a themed Dragon Ogre list, and I almost got there. Almost got away with having no warriors or humans, but didn't get it done quite enough with this game, but we got pretty close. So, of course, my general, Kolek Sun Eater, and then I wanted to have a little bit of magic defense. So I did a level 1 Mark of Zinch Sorcerer on a disc, Germ Shield, Third Eye, which gave him the 3+ ward with the Talisman of Preservation, Burning Body, and Lore of Metal. Basically, he was there to throw Searing Doom, go after regen or ethereal creatures. I had 2 groups of 5 Warhounds with Vanguard, 15 Warriors of Khorne, Halberd, Shields, Musician, Banner of Swiftness, just trying to get them across the board and meet my minimum core requirement. 10 Forsaken of Khorne. This was because one of the guys I played with got me these models, and so these are Mike and the God Touched. And I wanted to play him. I had a Chimera with Regeneration and Flaming Breath. 6 Dragon Ogres with a Champion and additional hand weapons. So Strength 5 should be able to churn through my Strength 3 opponents pretty quickly. And then 2 Shaggoths with additional hand weapons, so you can see the Dragon Ogre theme throughout it, and it was a whole lot of fun to play. Okay, now let's go on to the Beastmen army, which was led by a Great Bray Shaman, level 4, Talisman of Preservation, Brass Cleaver, and the Jagged Dagger. He had a Wargore BSB with Heavy Armor Shield, Gnarled Hide, and the Beast Banner that went in with the Gore. And 3 Bray Shaman for the Herdstone, all level 2 Shadow, 1 with the Dispel Scroll, and 1 with the Ruby Ring of Ruin. And then for his core choices, he had 48 Gore with additional hand weapons, full command. 2 groups of 5 Raiders. Tuskor Chariot, 2 of those. And then for special, he had 40 Bestigor, full command, Center of Discipline. 2 Razor Gore, a group of 5 Harpies with Scouting, and then a Razor Gore Chariot. And now one of the High Elf list. And my friend who brought his High Elves picked a different, very fluffy, very traditionally English High Elf list, which is not the most competitive, but it was a lot of fun to play against. And for him to play, I hope. So he started off with a lord on a dragon. The lord had giant blade, heavy armor, or had the armor of fortune, longbow, potion of strength, and a shield. And mounted on a moon dragon. And then he had a BSB with the banner of the world dragon, and heavy armor, shield, and spears. So that went in with the giant spearman block. Then he had a group of 10 Phoenix Guard that were just kind of out there to poke around and make trouble, which they did. 3 bolt throwers, and then 2 groups of 18 bowmen, and a block of Sea Guard, 21 Sea Guard, and 5 Dragon Princes with lance razor, with a razor standard, and gave the champion there the Sword of Shrieking for fear. And then he had 8 Illyrian Reavers. So no magic in a High Elf list. So I'm not sure how much that really helped him, but it was definitely a nice change to see from the traditional, double Phoenix, that kind of thing. And lastly, we have the vampire counts. And so my buddy, who you've seen in a couple of battle reports, other vampire counts, he always has a hard time getting magic off. And spoiler alert, that proves to be a challenge this game for him as well. But he decided to go all in and went for Count Manfred von Karstein, who was a lore master of both, I believe, Death and Lore of Vampires. So he had essential access to as much magic as he wanted. So he started with that. Then he had a level 1 vampire with Dragon Helm, Sea Rebirth, and Red Fury. A level 1 necromancer with invocation, with the spell scroll, another level 1 with the Book of Archon, and then he had 30 crypt ghouls, 40 skeleton warriors with a screaming banner, a block of 20 zombies, corpse cart. Sorry, as I turn the page, corpse cart. 21 grave guard, a 1 spirit host, which caused me all kinds of problems, mortis engine, and another mortis engine, so you ended up with 2 mortis engines, as you can see there. So, again, an untraditional list, but one that was a challenge to play against. Okay, now let's go over magic. So for the warriors, I just had the 1 level 1 with Searing Doom to go hunting various things. My Beastmen opponent got Wissons, Amber Spear, Savage Beast, and the Transformation of Kadan, and then his shadow casters had Melkoths, Withering, Occams, and Pit of Shades. The High Elves had no magic, again unusual. And then vampire counts, as I mentioned before, Manfred is lore master of both vampires and death. And then the other level 1 casters, the vampire and the 2 necromancers, took Invocation of Nehek. Now let's get into the battle report. I'm going to warn you up front, the camera work's not the best because it's hard recording a 10,000 point battle, but I hope you enjoy it. Alright, folks. We're going to do another battle report here. I already did the overviews of the armies, so let's go through how we did deployment. So we got an 8x4 board because we've got 10,000 points on the table. And so I'm going to start with mine. So warriors this time went for a monster heavy list. I couldn't get the trolls in time, so we do have some regular infantry. So we've got some Forsaken of Khorne, Mike and the God Touched, playing against Mike today, so although not facing him. A Chimera, 2 Shaggoths and Kolek, 15 warriors, Halberds, Mark of Khorne, Standard, and Musician. 6 Dragon Ogres, to keep with the Dragon Ogre theme, additional hand weapons, and a champion. 2 dogs, both of which have Vanguard, 2 sets of 5, and then a level 1 Lore of Metal on disc. Moving over to the High Elves, fielding Mantic models. So from left to right, we have a Bolt Thrower, a unit of Sea Guard, a Bolt Thrower, a unit of Sea Guard again, Archers, Bolt Thrower. That rather impressive looking model in the middle is a dragon. And then over here on the right is another unit.
Phoenix Guard.
Oh, Phoenix Guard. And then up on the far side there, oh, that's your reserve. Those are the dragon princes, right? And then Illyrian Reavers have gone up by the Beastmen, and then we've got more spearmen behind the dragon, and more archers. Okay, and so those are the high elves. And then he has his general is on the dragon, just a lord, and then BSB is in with the spearmen, correct?
Yeah.
And then for over here on the vampire counts. So
also Mantic models.
He has a rather compact army, much more so than I'm used to. So we have a big block here.
40 skeletons. 30 ghouls with a vampire. 20 graveguard with great weapons, with mantra on cast iron. 20 zombies with 2 level 1 necromancers. Corpse cart and 2 mortis engines.
Ooh, 2 dinosaur. And they actually...
as always. But they're not Terrorgeists.
I thought they were going to be Terrorgeists. And then the Beastmen have a Razor Gore Chariot, 5 Raiders, a big block of Bestigor. Is the general in there?
Yes.
A Razor Gore in the front. And then he brought the Herdstone straight from Mount Etna. So 3 level 2 of death, right? Shadow. A Tuskgore, Razor Gore, Ungore Raiders, Tuskgore Chariot, and then a big block of gore, and then he scouted up some harpies over here to help me out with some shooting. So I will have already gone over this, but just so people are seeing on the table, this is the obelisk. That is one of those 2 people's secret objectives that we have, and then over here, the ruins here are going to represent the wizard's tower. That's the other set of secret objectives. So High Elves won the turn to deploy first. They won the turn to go first, so I will see you at the bottom of High Elf Vampire Alliance turn 1. Right, end of turn 1. Vampire counts High Elves. So no charges were declared. Movement. Move the Reavers up, and sorry, the table here is a little large. The Graveguard moved up over here, and so everything kind of shuffled up that way. The only thing he did over here was move his Spirit Hosts around in a direction I was a little confused by, but okay. And then we went to Magic, and it was a pretty good Magic phase, I would say. It was a pretty fair Magic phase. So you rolled, it was a 6 and a 4, right? For Magic dice?
6 and a 4 and a 2.
Yeah, so 6 total Magic dice. We channeled 1, 2. You channeled none, so we had more dice. He attempted Invocation once and failed to cast. He attempted Invocation again, let it go, and it regrew something.
Gruesome zombies.
Yeah, Gruesome Zombies, which activated the Corpse Cart, so they all have always strikes first. And then Manfred got wound up and ended up doing a wound with...
A wound with Spirit Leech on the general.
Right.
But cast Curse of Years, but it was dispelled.
Yeah, and that was essentially all that you got off, right? Then we went on to shooting phase, and because there are no Terrorgeists, it wasn't that bad on the Vampire Count side. On the High Elf side, the archers ended up picking off the Tuskgore Chariot. Over here, they shot off eventually three of the Harpies, which caused them to panic and flee in my direction. And then he took some shots at my first set of dogs, which killed them all. He took a shot. That was it. And then 2 bolt throwers took volley shots at my wizard over here. The first one only did one. Only one got through it. Activated the charm shield and dodged it, I think. Yeah. And then the second one, 4 shots, and 1 wound got through. And of course, I rolled a 2 on my 3 upper rollable 1 armor ward save. So the wizard over here took a wound. So not really that bad shooting-wise. And we had no close combat, so we're going to go on to Beastmen Warriors turn. Alright, end of Warriors and Beastmen turn 1. And it was a pretty decent turn. So charges, we'll start over here. His Razor Gore Chariot charged into where one of the 2 Mortis engines used to be. He declared a Razor Gore charge against the Reavers, and they fled, taking 1 due to passing through impassable terrain, or not passing through impassable terrain. And that was all of his charges. Movement, he just kind of shuffled around a little bit. And then I didn't have any charges. So over here, I just moved up my second unit of dogs, sent my Dragon Ogres forward, put my wizard behind the trees, sent the halberd-wielding warriors up right behind the rallied harpies, put Kolek over here, and just because my opponent thinks I'm being cheesy, just look down, I can see that unit over there. I can see it. Promise.
It's Dragon Ogre peering around the edge.
Kolek peeking around the edge, because that's what Kolek does, I guess. And then sent these guys over here to try to get some relief for the vampire counts, to threaten them. And then sent the other Shaggoth up here behind the spirit host. Hopefully we'll sneak around. We went to magic, ended up getting 12 dice between dice rolls and channels. My opponent, I took 2 dice and threw them both at Searing Doom and ended up getting a bunch of 6s and killed off one of his bolt throwers, which did not cause a panic test, but that's a good change because I won't take as much fire over here. He got Melkoth's off 3 times, dropping the dragon's movement by 5 and the Graveguard's movement by 3.
Yep.
And he got an Amber Spear off on one of the... got a Amber Spear on the big level off on the other Mortis engine, but rolled a 1-2 wound. And that's it, right, for magic? 3 miasmas, 1... Yeah.
Amber Spear. You searing Doom.
Yeah, I already got that in mind. Got rid of the bolt thrower. And then in combat, the Chariot actually did pretty well and ended up popping. It did 1 wound in the magic phase, right?
And then non-impact hits.
Yeah, it did 1 wound in impact hits. Did 1 other wound in combat, and because he won by 3, it popped the Mortis engine, and he overran into the Ghoul, so he probably isn't going to last very long. But still consider a charge at least. And then, let's not forget, the mighty Ungor Raiders picked off a Graveguard. So that's very important. That's good for the Raiders. They made up their points. So that is the end of... Now it's into close combat. So now we're going to go on to BC High Elf turn 2. Alright, end of High Elf BC turn 2. Charges. The Dragon Princes charge the Razor Gore in the middle of the board over there. Realize this is going to be a little hard to see. That was the only charge you had, Mike, right? Mm-hmm. And the Reavers rallied and turned. We had ongoing combat over here, no VC charges. And magic, you got a high dice roll, you got like 11, basically had 12 dice, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a attempt at Curse of Years that didn't go off.
Was Dispel Scroll.
Yeah, which smart move. And on the Bestigor, but then that there was a Spirit Leech on the General, the Bestigor General again, actually Arm Marshal. Got another wound through, past his 4-up ward save. There was a Wind of Undeath, Wind of Death. The Vortex went through and killed off 5 Bestigor, so that wasn't too bad. I think that was... Oh, and you got... Did you get Invocation off? You did. Mm-hmm. You got Invocation off. So we have more zombies, and there's no high elf magic. So that was in the magic phase. In shooting phase, some shooting over here by the archers against. Did you shoot at the Ungor Raiders and not get anything, or you did 1 wound, or you shot the Gore? Yeah, the Gore did 1 wound. The Banshee Scream killed off the Chariot that had killed the Mortis engine, but it still made its points back. Shooting over here, he multi-shot 2 bolt throwers into the Dragon Ogres, doing a total of 6 wounds, so I lost 1 model. He picked off 2 of the other dogs with the other archers, but they passed their break test on the General's 18-inch range. And that was essentially it. Close combat, he barely did enough to kill the pig with the Dragon Princes. And so he restrained and reformed, and that was it. So now we're going to go on to Beastmen Warriors turn 2, and I'm trying to hustle across the board as fast as I can, because apparently all the High Elves and Vampire Counts decide they don't like
Beastmen that much. But it's an 8-foot board, so it takes me a while. So we'll be back at the bottom of turn 2. End of Warriors turn 3? Turn 3? I think so. Turn 3. So what do we do? Charge up the dogs into the bolt thrower over there. That was my only charge. I would have charged the halberd-wielding warriors into the tower, but the harpies were in the way. And then his charge, he charged his razor gore over here into the knights on the left. And I think that was all we had charge-wise, because I'm trying to hustle down the board to provide some support. So, magic was a pretty decent. It was a 5, and you channeled once or twice. And you got... what did you got? Melkoth's off on the dragon again?
I dispelled Melkoth's, rolled Pit of Shades, and Amber Spear.
You couldn't do anything, and you didn't try to cast it, right?
So I got Wissons on the...
Yeah, I got Wissons on the gore over on the far side. Sorry about that. Shaky camera. And then I didn't... You try anything with magic, because I don't think I'm going to roll that many 6s again, and I was in close combat with one of the bolt throwers. So then we went on to shooting phase, and Kolek spun up some lightning and took a couple wounds off of the dragon. And unfortunately this round, the Ungor over there didn't pick off any Graveguard. They're just over there being minor irritants. And then in close combat, I did no wounds to him. He killed one of my dogs. I charged. It was a push. So I've got one of his bolt throwers neutralized for this turn, which is A-okay. And then close combat over here, he lost, didn't do any wounds to the Dragon Princes with a Razor Gore. Took a wound or 2? Did you take any wounds from the Dragon Princes? 2 wounds from Dragon Princes, so he lost combat by 3, failed the rerollable leadership roll, and ran 3 inches, and the Dragon Princes restrained so as not to go into the woods. And that was it. I'm not missing anything else. So now we're on to Vampire Counts High Elves turn 4. I think we're getting pretty close to some major combats finally. I had it wrong the last time. This was the end of Vampire Counts turn 3. The game just taken a while because there's 10,000 points on the board. So charges. There was none over here. Did you charge anything, Mike? The Dragon Princes attempted to. Yeah, the Dragon Princes charged the fleeing. Razor Gore over here, and then it fled and it redirected into the Tuskgore chariot. It fled and bounced through, but is on the board, so that was a failed charge for them. He charged his skeletons into one of my Shaggoths, essentially neutralizing it. Probably it's going to be a slog. And then over here, he had no charges, but he turned his dragon around to help out with the inevitable pain that's coming. In the magic phase, did you get anything? You got Invocation off?
No, I got nothing off. Nothing at all.
Okay, yeah, because you failed to cast with Manfred.
Everything failed.
Okay, so unfortunately, no magic for them. Fortunately for us. And then the shooting phase, you did a couple of wounds on the Dragon Ogres, picking off another model.
And the Harpies.
And the Harpies, got those 70 points. But that was essentially it because there was no shooting phase from the Banshee over here. Everything's out of range. And we went to close combat. It was a pillow fight with the Bolt Thrower versus the dogs, but it's neutralized for another turn. And then over here, I killed... Five skeletons. Yeah, and only one combat by 1, so it's just going to be a slog here. So essentially, board's kind of static, but the Warriors are slowly making their way across the board to assist the Beastmen, and we're going to see how crunchy toughness 3 elves taste this round. So on to Warriors 3. So end of Warriors and Beastmen turn 3, and that was a pretty good turn for us, I would say. So charges. Charged the Dragon Ogres into the unit of Seaguard. The Warhounds still were in the Bolt Thrower. The Wizard on the disc charged the other Bolt Thrower. These guys, the Khorne Halberd Warriors, charged the tower with the Phoenix Guard. The Shaggoth is still in combat with the skeletons. Kolek moved his full movement up. The Manticore charged the Corpse Cart. The other Shaggoth moved his full movement up, and the Forsaken turned to face this way because they can't do anything against the Spirit Host there. For my opponent's movement, you charge the Gore into the big block of Spearmen with the BSB over here. Was that your only charge?
No, he charged the general into the dragon.
Oh, and the general into the Dragon Princes. So, magic, I wasn't here for most of it. Did anything? Oh, you got Wissens off on the Gore unit, which helped. Yeah. And was that essentially it?
I had Savage Beast on the jungle.
Oh, yeah.
And Miasma on the ghouls.
That was right. So, to lower their movement.
Yes.
Shooting. Kolek tried to take a shot and nailed himself, but made his 2-up ward save, so he is now frenzied. And the shooting over there with the Raiders was ineffectual. Combat, we started over here, and the after taking a couple wounds to stand and shoot, the Dragon Ogres trounced the Sea Guard, broke them, did not run them down, they're 2 inches apart. The Bolt Thrower beat the dogs finally, but most folks are past them, although I'm worried I'm going to take a shot this round. The Sorcerer on the disc beat the Bolt Thrower and overran. After taking a drubbing, losing 7 warriors going into the tower, I came back and killed all but one of the Phoenix Guard. He made his stubborn 9 or 10 leadership roll, so he's still in there with one guy. And I think I've got a dragon coming. Over here, I actually lost combat with the Shaggoth. He beat me by 1, but he stuck on Kolek's leadership. He actually rolled pretty well. The Manticore disassembled the Corpse Cart. And then we moved over here. So the General beat the Dragon Princes, killed 3. They broke. Yep. He did pursued, but they got away, I think. Where'd they go? Oh, there's one left. So he's on 25. He's on Insane Courage to rally. And then over here, I guess a fair number of wounds, did you say the Spearman did? Above average, below average?
7.
Yeah, that's probably, I don't know if that's a little below average or what. But then he came back and did 24 wounds because he got
40 attacks.
Yeah, 40 attacks, re-rolling 2s to wound because of Wissens, and killed 24 of them. They broke, he ran them down, and ended up over here. So this was a pretty painful turn for the High Elves. So we're going to see this turn how they rally. So we're on now to High Elf BC turn 4. End of top of turn 4, Vampire turn, High Elf turn 4. Rough turn a little bit. So for rallies, the rough turn for both. His Spearman, or is that the Sea Guard? Sea Guard rallied over there, right in front of the Dragon Ogres. Was there any other rallies? Nobody else was fleeing. No, yeah, because the single Dragon Prince there needs double 1, so it's still fleeing. Charges. He charged the dragon into my Khorne Warriors over here. You can see by what's left of what happened. Other combats. There wasn't any over there. Over here, did a bunch. The Shaggoth did better this time and did 6 or 7 wounds to the skeletons. He turned to face the. I don't think my Forsaken are going to be able to get around the Spirit Host here, unfortunately. So we turned to face there. And magic, unfortunately, Manfredina, because the female model, kinda, sorta choked a little bit. And so couldn't cast. That was most of the magic phase. So nothing really got off. VC bad luck, unfortunately, continues. So shooting phase, somebody took some pot shots at me with a bolt thrower and took a wound off of one of the Dragon Ogres. And then had shot at them previously with the archers and caught the panic test, but they passed. Thank goodness. because they've been right off the board. And then for other combat...
shooting, we succeeded in our secret objective of killing all the pigs.
That's right! All the Razor Cores are gone! So that's 2,000 victory points. Don't tell anybody. So for combats, we just had the one big one with the Bestigor between... I think I heard that the Bestigor won by 1 wound. Yep. So there's 1 wound on the Vampire, and it does look like a whole lot of damage. Over there. Probably what I'm seeing. Actually, wasn't even that was the only combat over there, correct? Oh, and then the general beat up one of the necromancers badly because it had Savage Beast up, and so it won combat by 1 there as well. So
Primal Frenzy.
Yeah, Primal Frenzy too. So I got to reroll an extra attack. So the horde was diminished by 1. I like how it looks very hordy. Zombies don't march in ranks. So High Elves are in a bit of a tough state over here, but they still got a dragon poking around. VC is going to be engaged here pretty soon. Forgot one. So there was Ungor Raiders over here. The Graveguard with Manfred was into them and killed them, but because they were kind of next to another unit, they couldn't overrun into the Bestigor, which is what I think the VC player was looking for. So we're now on to Warriors of Chaos versus Beastmen turn 4. Alright, that was end of Warriors and Beastmen turn 4. So what did we do? My charges. I charged the Manticore into the Graveguard and Manfred with the Manticore. Kolek unfortunately failed his frenzy test from taking the lightning shot earlier and had to go into the back of the zombies, which wasn't what I really wanted to happen. The Dragon Ogres charged the beleaguered Sea Guard, and you can guess what happened there. And that was all of my charges. Yeah, so I turned and charges over here. You didn't have any, did you? No charges over here. We had ongoing combats. So in terms of other movement, I turned this Shaggoth around and we start to head him over towards this tower. The Forsaken just kind of stood kind of still. Oh, they tried to charge into the tower and failed. They would have to roll like an 11. And so they trundled forward 3 inches. Because I want to get past the Spirit Host. And then my Wizard moved up for one of my secret objectives, which was the Black Obelisk, whatever I named it. And then we went into magic and had a big magic face. I think we had 12 plus dice, plus he had whatever he had from the Jagged Dagger. I think he had 3 or 4 extra power dice from people he's killed. So I started by trying to successfully cast Searing Doom, forgetting on the Dragon Prince, wanting to net the points, forgetting that he has those are flaming attacks, and so he gets 2 up ward save, and he rolled like a 2, so barely made it. And then he did the spell from the Black Obelisk on the dragon and dropped the Tornado of Death down on top of it and did 2 wounds to the dragon, so it's up to 4 wounds and none on the rider. And then my Beastman partner decided to buff up Kolek even more and threw Savage Beasts on him, so I think he had 12 or 14 attacks. And then he tried to do Miasma, it didn't go off, or it did go off on the Mortis engine. Mm-hmm. It went off on the Mortis engine. And then he tried Transformation and Dimensionally Cascaded, got the spell off, Dimensionally Cascaded, killed like 14 zombies, killed off the vampire that was in that unit, but then he got sucked into the warp, which is my opponent's speciality. We went on to combat, and the Chimera, between Flaming Breath attacks in the rear, blew up the Graveguard, so it's now Manfred versus the Chimera over here. And in combat, the Ghouls broke the Beastmen. But did you kill that? No, it was a Necromancer I killed over in this combat. It was a Vampire in that combat, but they still lost and broke, unfortunately. Other combats, I crushed the Seaguard and overran. And I think that is all of our combats. Oh, the Shaggoth here in the ongoing combat eventually destroyed all of the skeletons he was facing. Had a good turn there. So We're definitely thinning out. Now top of turn 5. Let's see what the High Elves and Vampire counts can pull together. Bottom of, or the end of the top of turn 5. So that was the Vampire count High Elf turn. And charges. I don't think that there were any. Were there? No? Anybody?
Charges? No.
Nope. So, movement. So the High Elf plopped his dragon down over in front of my Forsaken. Dragon Prince continued to flee. Archer's turn to take pot shots at my Shaggoth. That was essentially it. Oh, the Mortis Engine over here turned around to... he rolled a ridiculous amount of distance for his... aura of Dark Majesty or whatever it is. And so that was at the beginning of the shooting phase?
No, that happened right at the start of the turn.
Yeah, so he ended up nuking 3 of the shamans, so killed all them. Tried to do a wound on Kolek, didn't work. Did a wound possibly or two to the
wounds on the
Shaggoth.
Manicore.
Yeah, 2 wounds to the Manicore, a wound or 2 on the Shaggoth. And
2 Beastmen.
that was, and 2 Beastmen. That was essentially it. Magic was kind of, you got Doom and Darkness off on the Manticore
With a miscast.
and it was, I got to choose because of the Mortis Engine, and he rolled a 7 or an 8. I made him take the 8, and it didn't wound Manfred. But that lost most of his power dice. He ended up casting Raise Dead in front of my Shaggoth just to block me. I'm going to mow through them and overrun and see if we can get out of the way of the, whatchamacallit, the Mortis Engine and Manfred. Other combats, what am I missing? Oh, shooting phase. The Reavers over there reformed and took out the Ungor Raiders. Did we do have any other combats?
Shooting on the shackles in the center.
Yeah, we already got that. So he picked off 3 wounds, 2 wounds, 2 wounds. And that's really it. So kind of, we're running out of stuff to fight. So we'll see, I think most of the action is going to kind of be down this direction. And, Kolek stuck in a unit trying to slug through a bunch of zombies. So we're going to go on to Warriors and Beastmen turn. End of Warriors turn 5. And so a couple of good combats. So, charges over here, I charged the Forsaken and the Shaggoth into the Dragon and High Elf Lord. I attempted to charge the Dragon Ogres into the Archers because they were going to get shot at anyways. And those were my only charges, I believe. So, these charges were successful. This charge over here, I took like 2 wounds from his stand and shoot, which killed off a model, which forced a panic test, and I've been rolling pretty well on Leadership 8, and I finally failed. So they broke and fled 11. Combats over here went predictably. Unfortunately, though, I have 2 zombies left to kill for the Shaggoth on the right. Kolek has 7 or so zombies left over here, so he did a good job of gumming me up. Skipped the magic phase. Magic rolled reasonably well. I'm the only caster left. I tried within 24 inches of the tower, so I tried Searing Doom. It went off irresistibly, but I only did like 2 hits and 1 wound, and he made his armor or his ward save, which sucked. The dimensional or the miscast was a strength 10 wound, and it didn't wound, so he was okay. And I had about 4 dice left, and I was going to do the big template. I just didn't want to literally roll the dice on that. So, and then combat over here between the Shaggoth and the Forsaken, who rolled, unfortunately, always strikes last. We ended up killing off the dragon and put a wound on the Lord. Lost by 2, but made its leadership 8. So I think I'm going to get a Spirit Host in the rear of my Shaggoth over here. But other than that, or he's now got 1 turn left to see if he can they have 1 turn left to try to score some more points or consolidate their winnings. So On to the last turn, High Elf VC turn 6. End of Warriors turn 5, and so a couple of good combats. So charges over here, I charged the Forsaken and the Shaggoth into the Dragon and High Elf Lord. I attempted to charge the Dragon Ogres into the Archers because they were going to get shot at anyways. And those were my only charges, I believe. So, these charges were successful. This charge over here, I took like 2 wounds from his stand and shoot, which killed off a model, which forced a panic test, and I've been rolling pretty well on leadership 8, and I finally failed. So they broke and fled 11. Combats over here went predictably. Unfortunately, though, I have 2 zombies left to kill for the Shaggoth on the right. Kolek has 7 or so zombies left over here, so he did a good job of gumming me up. I skipped the magic phase. Magic rolled reasonably well. I'm the only caster left. I tried within 24 inches of the tower, so I tried Searing Doom. It went off irresistibly, but I only did like 2 hits and 1 wound, and he made his armor or his ward save, which sucked. The dimensional or the miscast was a strength 10 wound, and it didn't wound, so he was okay. And I had about 4 dice left, and I was going to do the big template, and I just didn't want to literally roll the dice on that. So, and then combat over here between the Shaggoth and the Forsaken, who rolled, unfortunately, always strikes last. We ended up killing off the dragon and put a wound on the Lord. Lost by 2, but made its leadership 8. So I think I'm going to get a Spirit Host in the rear of my Shaggoth over here. But other than that, where he's now got 1 turn left to see if he can they have 1 turn left to try to score some more points or consolidate their winnings. So on to the last turn, High Elf VC turn 6. End of High Elves VC turn 6. And over here, so charges, there were none, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Spirit Host charged into the Shaggoth over here. And that was it. You moved around a little bit.
Moved into the building with it.
Yeah. Right, so the Phoenix Guard popped out, and the Archers moved in just to better garrison that building. Yeah, so then magic, you got like 7 or 8 dice, and attempted...
Purple Sun of Xerius.
Yeah, and that just got the spell scrolled. Thank God I remembered I had it, to keep me keep me alive, basically, because it would have run right up the line, and Kolek's only initiative 1, so it would have pretty much been an auto kill for him. Yeah, so shooting phase, your bubble didn't really do that much, I don't think.
No, we got nothing.
And you tried a Spirit Leech, I blew it up, Purple Sun didn't work. And that was all you cast?
I
Bubble Invocation, yeah, a bunch of zombies just to keep the 2 Shaggoths pinned, or the Shaggoth and Kolek pinned. Shooting phase, he shot a lot at the wizard there, whose ward save saved him. He shot... What else did you shoot at? Picked off some gore. That was it, all the shooting. Your Banshee Scream didn't work. Rolled a 9 off the General's leadership. Close combat, 1 Shaggoth finished off all the zombies and turned to face Manfredino. Kolek still slugging away, can't roll higher than a 1 for Thunderstomp to save his life. Other combats over here. The Elf General divided its attacks, picked off the last wound on the Shaggoth, and picked off one of the Forsaken. The Forsaken did a wound in return that took the Spirit Host out of the combat. So we've got a General over here with 1 wound left. And that's really it. I don't think I'm missing anything, so we're going to see what we can do. Get some points stuff, turn 6 for the Warriors and
Okay, so unfortunately, somehow I deleted the last Warriors Beastmen turn 6, and so what ended up happening? So the Shaggoth charged into Manfred and beat him. So I got the points for the general. The Forsaken charged into the High Elf noble or lord, and did not beat him, mostly because I forgot that he had. I forgot that my guys had hatred and got to reroll. So at the end of the game, we tallied up the scores, and here is where I made a mistake. If you remember, actually, the mistakes were made on both sides, but I felt bad afterwards. So we totaled up the scores, and Warriors and the Beastmen ended up killing 3,705 points, including we got our special objective. And the High Elves and the VC, we lost 3,705 points. The High Elves and the VC ended up losing 4,255. So right about 500 points difference. Two kind of potentially significant mistakes were made in this game. I goofed up. I did not have a Dispel Scroll. I thought I did because I had two different builds for my level 1. One was to go the 3-up rerolling 1 ward save. The other one would have been, in order to squeeze it in, I think it would have been a 5-up or a 4-up ward save. I think I might have a 5-up ward save, rerolling 1s, and a Dispel Scroll. And I printed out the army builder sheet with the Dispel Scroll and the 5-up, but then I saw the model that I built and just immediately thought it had a 3-up. So when I looked on the sheet and we were tired, at the end of the day, the game had gone for like 4 or 5 hours. I blanked out on it. So technically, that Purple Sun would have gone off, or could have gone off, and then might have killed Kolek. On the flip side, the High Elf player forgot that he had didn't have a 4-up ward save, he had a 5-up ward save on his noble, which might have meant that I would have killed him in the combats down by the Wizard's Tower earlier. I felt really bad about my mistake, and so I just said the 500-point difference, let's assume you got Kolek, let's call it a draw. So at the end of the day, it ended up being, I had a blast. I think all the other guys did too. There was a lot of bullshitting, and it was a good way to go out. The scenario was a lot of fun. It wasn't just a traditional battle line. I hate playing traditional battle line games. I don't hate them, but I'd much rather play a scenario-based game. I think everybody had a good time. So as far as my army list went, I like the Dragon Ogre theme list, but I can see how it would fall apart under some competitive builds. You can see here pretty much everybody brought not a cutthroat list. I don't say they were all fluffy, but there was no cheese on the table. I mean, nobody can claim that anybody's list was cheesy. Even the double Mortis engine didn't help. I thought for sure my Vampire Council bonus could bring double Terrorgeist. He didn't. So we all had fun lists. Unfortunately, my Beastman player, there's not a whole lot of fun, fluffy lists he can do and still be competitive. He's probably got the weakest army book on the table. But he played it well, but he still didn't go over the top either. It was a good time. Everybody had fun. And so it was a good way to go out. I plan on continuing to work on my Dragon Ogre-themed list. I've got to finish up the three Dragon Ogres. I've got some more dogs in there too. So all in all, great scenario. So the Forces of Chaos would have won theoretically, but with my mistake, we're just gonna end up calling it a draw. So all in all, again, thanks to my opponents. Great group of guys. Fun time playing with them in the 3 years I've been in Vienna. And definitely fun time in this game. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the battle report. There's going to be a bit of a loo for me because I'm packing out and going to be heading home and then have to find a new gaming group. So I hope to do another kind of update video here shortly. But until then, happy wargaming.